Today I'm going to show you how you can create your own Easter egg hunt game in Roblox. So you can collect eggs and then a nice pop-up will come on the screen telling you when you've collected one, and the eggs will save as well. So let's get started. So if you've not done any Roblox game development before, then my name's Blocks. I have lots of videos teaching you how to make your own Roblox games and even how to make Robux from them. So if you're interested in that, then please do subscribe and click the like button so that I know you want more videos from me. And also, you won't miss out on a future upload. So, if you haven't ever installed Roblox Studio, all you need to do is go to your web browser and go to roblox.com/create. I'll also leave a link in the description, but once you're there, click on Start Creating, and then that will let you install Roblox Studio. Roblox Studio is the tool used to develop games on the platform. Once you've got Roblox Studio, you should just be able to go and open it up on your computer by searching for it. I'm going to go and open it up by clicking on the Start menu and clicking Roblox here. When it opens up, you may be prompted to log in with your Roblox account, so make sure you go ahead and do that. But once you finish doing that, you should see this screen here. And if you don't, just click on the New button here and these templates should pop up. Now we're going to click on Base Plate, and this will open a blank workspace for us to start creating. Firstly, I'm going to save the place by pressing Ctrl S or Command S. And now we're good to go. So the first thing I'm going to do is open up the workspace. And if you don't see these tabs, by the way, just need to go to View and make sure that Explorer and Properties are selected. We don't need the output for now. Okay, so we're going to go to the workspace, select the base plate, and I'm going to just change it to some grass, and I'm going to make it green as well, so it's nice to work with. Next, we're going to create our egg. So to do this, we firstly need to get an egg mesh. To do that, I'm going to head to the Toolbox, and I'm going to search for egg. Now the Toolbox contains lots of different objects created by other people, and I'm just going to insert the first egg mesh that I see. So just drag it into your game, and select it, and then press F, so you can find it. Now mine seems to be away from the base plate, so I'm just going to click and drag it all the way over there, and I'm going to press F to head to the base plate. So we've got our egg in here. Now I will leave a link to an egg mesh model that you can take. You just need to take it and then go to the Toolbox, click on this icon here, and then you go to My Models, and you'll be able to insert it from there. If you have bought it, it will be free, and I'll leave it in the description. Now next thing to do is just to check that there's no meshes inside of your egg. Now if there is, what we need to do is we need to insert a mesh part, okay? Because what we're going to do is this is actually a part with a mesh inside of it, and the mesh makes it look like make the part look like an egg, but there's an actual mesh part which we should be using in Roblox. So we're going to right click, go insert object, and we're going to type in mesh part. Okay, now this is our new mesh part, but what we're going to do, we're going to go into the mesh of our egg over here, and I'm going to copy the mesh ID, okay, or cut it. And don't worry if the mesh goes away, we're going to paste that mesh ID into the mesh part. And now we've got a part without a mesh inside of it that is an egg, okay? So that is our new mesh part. You should always be using mesh parts instead of parts with a mesh inside of it, okay? So we can now delete the egg mesh, and don't worry about that if you've taken the model from the description, because it will automatically be a mesh part. I will have already converted it for you. So now that you've got your egg mesh part, I'm going to give it a name, and I'm going to call this one Rainbow Egg. Okay, so now you're free to make as many eggs as you would like. But if you want to give it a, you want to colour the egg or maybe have a pattern on it, well, you need to insert a decal onto the egg. Okay, well, you can either texture it or add a decal. Now, texturing is a little bit more complicated, so I'm going to show you how you can use decals. So we're going to go to the Toolbox, I'm going to click on the Marketplace, I'm going to click on Images. Okay, so now you can choose any of these images and you can put them onto your egg. So I could select, let's have a look, we're going to search for rainbow, and it's going to give us some rainbow pictures. So I could take this one, just click it, and then hover over the face of the egg. So you have to apply a decal to each face, so keep clicking for each face of the egg, so left, right, up, down, front, back, bottom, etc. And you have to apply it to each surface like this. And when you've done that, you've now got a patterned egg. You've got those decals on it. And if we open up the egg, we can see we've got the decals in there. So that is our egg. Now, if you wanted to texture it, okay, you would have to firstly just remove these decals, but you would right click and click on copy asset ID, and then where the rainbow egg is, set the texture ID to that ID, okay? And that is texturing. It's a little bit different. It's as if you just wrap, it's like you've wrapped it up in wrapping paper, okay? Whereas this one is kind of like you've just stuck sheets of paper onto each side. Okay, but you can't really see the difference, so you can either put decals on it or texture it. Now I'm going to get rid of the texture for this one. Now, you can create as many eggs as you like, so I'm not going to create any more. So what you now need to do is, when you've finished creating your egg, we're going to go into replicated storage here, and we're going to click on the plus, and we're going to insert a folder, and we're going to call this folder eggs. Okay, this is where we're just going to keep all of our eggs in storage because we want to spawn them in. We don't want them all to be appearing at once, so we're going to keep them in replicated storage. So we're just going to drag the egg into that folder. Okay, so there we go. And remember, you can create as many eggs as you'd like. Next, we're going to create the GUI, which will appear on the screen when you pick up the egg, okay, to tell you that congratulations, you found it. Now, if you're a channel member on my channel, you will be able to access this GUI. I will leave it for you channel members. So if you do want to get the GUI, then you can click the join button underneath the video and you'll unlock it instantly. However, if you aren't a channel member, you can watch along and create it whilst I am. So we're going to click on the starter GUI and we're going to insert a screen GUI. Then we're going to name this screen GUI. We're going to go to the properties and change its name to main GUI. Okay. Then inside of there, we're going to insert a frame, and a frame, it just contains some GUI objects. Okay. And it's appeared here on the screen. Now we're going to set the anchor point of this frame to 0.5, 0.5. And what that does is, when we set it, you'll see in a minute, we're also just going to set the position to 0.5, 0, 0.5, 0. And that will put it in the exact middle of the screen, because the anchor point is that dot in the middle, and the anchor point is where the position is taken from. And when it's in the middle, it's definitely in the true middle of the screen. Then we're going to set the size of the GUI. Now I'm going to set it to 0.25, 0, 0.3, 0. So it's going to take up around, yeah, that's a good size, I think. Then we're going to change the style property to drop shadow, and this will make it look more professional. I do like this style. Now inside of this frame, we're going to insert quite a few things. We're going to insert a text label to begin with, and this is going to say congratulations. So we can click on the text label, and I'm going to change its name to congrats, and I'm going to set the text to say congratulations. I'm then going to set the text scaled property to be true so that it fills the entire text label box, and the size will be set to 1, 0, so it fills up the entire of the x-axis, and then 0.15, 0, so it only takes up about 15% of the y-axis, so the y-axis being the entire size of this frame. So I'm then going to set the background transparency to 1, so we don't have that white background. I'm going to scroll down and set the text color 3 to white. Okay, I'm going to drag that slider all the way to the top. Now that I've done that, I can set the font if I like. Now I'm going to set this font to be Gotham Bold, and that's just going to make it look much cleaner, much nicer. Now I'm going to insert another text label, and that's just going to go underneath it. So I can duplicate this one, so right click and duplicate, and that will create an exact copy. I'm going to change the name of this new text label to be called You Found. So it's going to say underneath You Found, and then we'll have the name of the egg. So I'm going to set the size to be a little bit smaller than the congratulations on the y-axis. I'm going to set it to 0.1, so it'll only take out 10% of the frame size, whereas congratulations currently takes up 15%. I'm going to set the position to be 0.15 on the y-axis. So if we're doing the whole 4 values, it would be 0, 0, because we don't want to move it anywhere on the x-axis because it's currently filling up the entire x-axis on the size property, comma, 0.15, 0. So it's taking up, well, it's going to be 15% of the way down, just where this congratulations finishes off. Then I'm going to change the text to say you found, and then we will change that text with a script when we find an egg. And once we've got that, we're going to insert a viewport frame, and the viewport frame will have the image of the egg which we find. So I'm going to just click on the frame again. I'm going to click on, well, I'm actually going to have to search for it. Search for viewport frame. So a viewport frame can render 3D objects in the GUI, if you're wondering what that is. Again, I'm going to set the anchor points to 0.5, 0.5, and this again puts that little dot in the middle, so it will position it in the true middle, because we're positioning it from the middle of the GUI. And the position value, we'll get to that in a minute. I'm just going to do the size, so I'm going to set the size. It's going to be quite a precise value, but I've tested it. 0.375, 0, 0.575, 0. If you're a little bit confused about these GUI size values, don't worry. What they're telling us is how much of the frame we are going to take up with this GUI on the X and Y axes, okay? And so the numbers go from 0 to 1. We can pick a number between 0 and 1 for our first and third values. They're the scale values. And it's the exact same with the position. So we can set the position of where we want the GUI to be. So I'm going to set it to 0.5 on the x-axis, 0. We're not dealing with offset. Offset is the second value, but we're dealing with scale, so don't need to worry about that. And so when it's 0.5, it will be in the middle of that axis. So in the middle for the x-axis, but we also want it to be in the middle, but a little bit further down, because we don't want it to be touching the congratulations and you found text labels. So we're going to set the y-axis position to 0.575, 0, okay? And that's going to put it in a nice position here. So the final thing that we now need to do is create a button which we can click to hide this GUI when we find something. So I'm going to insert a text button. Now I'm going to call this text button OK, because it's going to be an OK button. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the size to 0.25, 0. So that should take up 25% of the X size of the frame. So 0.25, 0, and then on the y-axis, I only wanted it to take up 10%, so 0.1, 0, okay? And there we go, there's our button. So I'm going to then set text scale to be true, so that the text fills up the entire button. I'm going to change the text to say OK. In fact, let's do that in capital letters. There we go. I'm going to set the font to, I'm going to leave it at Source Sans, and let's have a look. I'm going to then move this down, aren't I? I'm going to put it, firstly, it's going to be in the middle of the x-axis, so 0.5, 0, and then for the y-axis, by the way, there's 2 values per axis, which is why we're leaving out the zeros. And then for the y-axis, the scale is going to be 0.94, 0, okay, because that's going to be 94% of the way down. Then we're going to set the anchor point to be 0.5, 0.5, and that will put it in the true middle of the screen. Okay, there we go, awesome. So now we have created that GUI which will show the egg when we find it. Last touches, I'm just going to set the background transparency of the viewport frame to be 1, because we don't want that white background. I'm also going to change the background color 3 of the OK button to be green, like this. And I'm going to set border size pixel to 0, so that there's no border on the GUI button. Okay, so there we go. Now that we're finished with that, I'm going to hide the GUI. So I'm going to click on the frame, I'm going to go to the properties window. I'm going to set visible to false, because we don't need to show this GUI right now. We only want to show the GUI when we step on an egg. So how are we going to make that appear when we do step on the egg? Well, keep watching. What we're going to work on now is spawning the eggs, so we want to make them appear somewhere in the game. So to do that, we firstly need to create a folder in the workspace. Okay, so we're going to click on the plus here and click on folder. Now this folder is going to contain lots of different parts, and each part is going to be a position where the eggs could spawn, because we don't want them spawning in the same place all the time, so we're going to have lots of different places where they can spawn. And we're going to tell the game where we want them to spawn by putting some parts in certain areas of the base plate, okay? And then using a script, we can pick a random part out of this folder and set the position of our egg to the position of that part. So we're going to change the name of this folder to be egg spawns. It's going to contain all of the spawns where that egg could spawn, okay? Then I'm going to click on the part button, and it's going to insert a part into the game. Now, I'm going to change the size of this part in the properties window to be 1 by 1 by 1, so that it's nice and small. I'm going to set the anchored property to be true. I'm going to make sure that can collide is set to false, so that you can't step on it. You will just walk straight through it. You can't collide with it. And anchored means that it won't move, so it will just stay fixed in that position throughout the entire game, so it can't get pushed around. And then I'm going to move it wherever I want it to be. So we could have a spawn over here, but then I just need to make sure that I put it inside of the egg spawns folder. Okay, make sure it's in that folder by just dragging it in there. I'm also going to change the name of the part to spawn, so we know what it is. And then, because we're going to want quite a few spawns, different random locations where the egg could go, I'm going to just keep on duplicating this part. So you can press Ctrl D to duplicate it, or Command D if you're on a Mac. Okay, and then a duplicate one has been spawned in the exact same location. Just drag it away. Okay, so just keep on duplicating by pressing Ctrl D or Command D and dragging them in random places around the map. Put them wherever you like on the map, okay? And if you're finding it a little bit hard to select them, you can press Ctrl 2 or Command 2, or alternatively you can click on the Move button over here, and then you can move them using these axes here, which just makes it a little bit easier. Okay, so I've just placed a lot of them around the map, so these are going to be all of the places where the eggs could spawn. Now, make sure that you've got quite a few of these, because we do want them to be random, and also make sure that you are putting them on the ground, okay? Don't put them in the air, because we're going to script them so that the eggs fall from the sky. So just put these parts on the ground, okay? And make sure that they are in the egg spawns folder. And it's also critical that all of these parts are set so that anchored is true or checked, and that can collide is not checked, okay? Once you've done that, we're going to right click on egg spawns and click on select children. This should select all of these parts that we've just created. Again, make sure that they're in that egg spawns folder. Then we're going to set their transparency value to 1 so that we can't see them. They're invisible, but they're still there. So what we're going to do is we're going to write some code which will randomly select a part from this folder. So for example, this one. And then we're going to clone our egg, a random egg, out of our eggs folder in replicated storage, and we're going to position it to be 10 studs higher from that brick. So it's going to fall down into this position, and then our egg is there and able to be collected. So I'm going to deselect that part and just close our egg spawns folder, and now I'm going to insert a script into server script service. This is where we're going to keep our code. So make sure you click on the plus and click on script. And again, all code from this project will be available to my channel members, my premium channel members. If you would like to become a channel member, you can click on the join button below the video next to the subscribe button. Or if not, you can just follow along and learn as we go along. So I'm going to name this script egg spawns, okay? Just so that we know what it does. And we're going to firstly create a variable for the folder for our eggs in replicated storage. So we say local eggs, and then we're going to set that to be equal to game.replicatedStorage, and then we can say .eggs, okay? And then we can say local spawns. We're going to do the exact same, but for the egg spawns folder in the workspace, equals game.workspace.eggspawns, okay? So we've got our two folders here. Then every 2 seconds, what we're going to do, so every 2 seconds, we want to choose a random egg and spawn and put the egg at that location. So we're going to want to repeat the code every 2 seconds forever. So for that, we can do a while loop. So we can say while, wait, and then in the brackets, we put 2 for 2 seconds, do, and drop a line. So anything inside of these 2 lines here, anything inside of here, so here, will keep on running and it will repeat every 2 seconds. So every 2 seconds, a new egg is going to spawn. So what we need to do is we need to create a table for all of the eggs that are in this folder. So currently there's only 1, but if you had 5 or 6 or maybe even 50, we'd want to have a list of all of them. And a table is basically a list of all the objects in that folder. So we're going to create another variable, and the variable just holds some data for us to keep on referencing and using later on. We're going to create that variable for eggs table. Okay, so eggs table equals, and then a quick way of getting a list of all of the items inside of that folder is firstly getting the folder, which we've currently got through this variable called eggs, and we can say :get children with a pair of brackets or parentheses on the end, and that will return to us a list of all of the eggs in that folder. We're going to do a random pick now, so it picks a random egg out of that table. So we can say local random egg equals eggs table. So we want to pick an item out of that table, and to do that we use the square brackets, so a pair of square brackets, and then inside of these square brackets we need to have a number, okay, so a random number, and that random number will be between 1 and however many items there are in that table. So if there were 5 eggs, it would be 1 and 5. So we say math.random, and then in these brackets 1, comma, and then hashtag eggs table. When we do hashtag eggs table, that will give us the amount of items in that table. So if there's 50, then hashtag eggs table is going to be 50. So what this code does is it chooses a random egg from that table. So currently it would always pick the random egg because it's the only one there. But if you had more, it would choose a random egg. Then we're going to do the same thing, and we're going to choose a random spawn. So local spawns table equals spawns, so those spawns in the workspace. When we say :get children, it's going to create a list of all of those spawns in that folder, and then we can pick a random spawn. So local random spawn equals spawns table, and then we're picking a random spawn from that table by using math.random, which generates a random number between 1 and however many spawns there are. So if there's 50 spawns, it will give us a random number out of all of those spawns. It will give us a random spawn. Now that we've got our random egg, we need to make a clone of it, because we're not going to use the egg that's stored in replicated storage. We're going to create a clone of it. So local egg clone equals random egg :clone, and that will make a duplicate of it, just like when we press Control D or Command D on the keyboard, it made a clone of it. We can then put that clone into the workspace. So we're going to create another folder in the workspace. I'm going to call this folder spawned eggs. So it's where all of the eggs that have spawned are going to go. So we can say egg clone.parent equals game.workspace.spawned eggs. Okay, so we've now put that egg into the workspace. Now let's set its position. So we can say egg clone dot position equals, now this is a little bit more advanced. What we're going to do is we're going to get the position of the random spawn that we just found. So random spawn dot position, and then to make it go into the air, we're going to have to add 20 studs to its current Y position. So Y is the up and down position value, and then we're going to add on vector3.new 0, 20, 0. Okay, so we're only adding 20 studs in the Y-axis, so which is why the other values for X and Z are 0. So that's going to put it 20 studs in the air above where it currently is. Now that we've set its position, we can say egg clone.anchored equals false. And when it's unanchored, it will fall to the ground. So it will just fall from the sky into the ground. How awesome is that? If you go and play the game now, you should see the eggs start falling from the sky into random locations. So there we go, we've just created our egg spawner. But what if we want the egg, when we touch it, to make the GUI pop up telling us that we found it? Let's work on that next. So the next thing to do is create a simple touched event, and a touched event will fire some code when a part, well in this case the egg, has been touched. So we're going to say egg clone, because that is the egg that will be in the game, dot touched, connect, and then in these brackets we're going to write function with another pair of brackets, and then drop a line, and we'll have a closing bracket like this. Okay, so when the egg is touched, we're going to run a function, and a function just contains some code, which is what we're going to do here. We're going to contain the code that we want to run whenever you step on the egg. So when you step on the egg, we want to delete it, but we also want to make the GUI appear. So firstly, we've got an argument here called hit, and hit is going to be the object which touches the egg. Obviously, we don't know what it is right now, so we use hit as a placeholder for the part that touched it. Now, hit is going to be a body part of your character, so we need to check whether that part is an actual body part or whether it's another part in the game. Maybe it touched another egg by accident. We don't want it to run if it's not touched a player. So we need to firstly check if it's a player by saying game.players gets player from character hit.parent. Now, if hit.parent is a player's character model, which it should be, then this piece of code here is going to just check whether it is, and it's going to return true or false. So player, or PLR, is going to be true or false. So if PLR is true, then, so if it is a player, you can actually just say if player, and that's a short way of doing it. So if it is an actual player, then we're going to make the GUI appear on their screen. Okay, so to do that, we're going to need to use a remote event. So I'm going to click on replicated storage and insert a remote event. I'm going to call this remote event found egg. And then what we can do is we can say game.replicatedStorage.foundEgg:fire client. Okay, and then in these brackets we need to put PLR. When we say fire client, we are basically sending a request to a certain player to do something on their end. Now, because it's a GUI and the GUIs actually are stored on the player in their computer, we need to send a message from the game to their player to make the GUI appear, so we can fire this remote event to that player. We then need to write some code in the GUI to pick up that event and make the GUI appear. Okay, so we're also going to then send some data with it. So the piece of data that we're going to send is the egg's name, so eggclone.name, because we need to tell the player which egg they picked up. Okay, so once we've done this, we can delete the egg. So we can say eggclone:destroy, and that will just remove the egg from the game, because once they've found it, we just want to delete it. Next, and the final thing for today's video, we're going to go into that main GUI and insert a local script so that we can pick up this remote event. I'm going to set the name of this script to be client, and inside of this local script, we are firstly going to create a few variables. So local GUI is going to be script.parent, that's just going to be the GUI object. The frame is going to be the this one here, the frame that's inside of the GUI. So we say GUI::wait for child frame, just to make sure that it has loaded and we're ready to continue. We don't want to continue the script before the frame and other things have loaded. So we need to make sure they're fully loaded first. So we've got the frame, the OK button, and the viewport frame. These are just shortcuts. They make it easier for us to quickly get the GUI element instead of having to always say script.parent.frame.viewport frame, etc. So once we've got our variables, we can then create an event that will pick up whenever that found egg is triggered or fired for our client. So game.workspace.foundEgg.onClientEvent::connect function, and then inside of these brackets we're going to have the data that was sent. Now we don't put the player because that automatically gets sent. We're going to have the egg name as an argument here. An argument is the data that gets sent from the server script to our GUI local script here. So what we need to do is we need to actually firstly check to see if the egg is a real egg and it's actually in replicated storage. So we can say if game.replicatedStorage.eggs::find first child egg name, because there could be a mistake and the egg might not be there for some reason. So if it is there, then what we can do is create a clone of that egg. So we can say local egg clone equals game.replicatedStorage.eggs, and then in square brackets we can say egg name. We don't need to use wait for child anymore because we are certain that it's there. If we didn't use wait for child in the if statement and there was no egg, it would cause an error. So it's kind of like a fail safe, so it won't break the script if it isn't there. So we're then cloning the egg from the replicated storage, and we're going to parent it inside of the viewport frame. So eggclone.parent equals VPF for viewport frame. When we want to show a 3D object in the GUI, like this viewport frame, like this egg, which we want to show in the viewport frame, any objects you do want to show has to go inside the viewport frame. So that's why we put the egg in the viewport frame. Then we're going to set the text of the uFound text label. So frame.uFound.text equals, then we're going to do a string and say uFound, then a space, then a dot, because we now need to put the name of the egg. So we can say egg name ... and then in strings again a exclamation mark. And the dot is a way of putting some data with a string. Okay, so the egg name, which we don't know, we can put a dot dot and concatenate it together, and that will make it appear in the GUI. Then the last thing to do is to create a camera in the viewport frame, and the camera is the thing that will render whatever goes in the viewport so that we can actually see it. So local camera equals instance.new camera, and the camera tells the viewport frame what it should be looking at so we can actually see the egg. So camera.parent, we need to put it in the viewport frame, and we then need to set the viewport frame's current camera property, because the viewport frame has a property called current camera. We need to set that to the camera, and then we can set the camera's C frame, so what it's looking at, to be the egg clone's C frame. C frame is like a position value, but it has the rotation element as well, so it tells you how an object should be positioned and rotated. So we're telling the camera to look at the egg, but we need it to be a few studs away from it, because if it was in the middle of the egg, we wouldn't be able to see anything because we'd be inside of it. So we are multiplying it by the egg's size on the z-axis multiplied by 1.5, okay? And that just positions the camera away from the egg so that we can see it. So that should be good to go, I think. I think the last thing to do is just to set the frame's visible property to true, and also to clear the viewport frame of any children in it. So vpf : clear all children. Because if we found another egg, we would have the previous egg still stored in the viewport frame. So we need to destroy it. So we're just going to say viewport frame, clear all children, and it will remove anything currently inside of it before we add the new egg. Okay, so let's go ahead and test this out. In fact, there's one last thing that we need to add, and that is a quick little mouse button 1 event. So OK.mouse button 1 click : connect function, and this is going to set the frame.visible to false, so that when we click the OK button, it will set the frame's visibility to false, so the GUI is hidden. So it's kind of like a close button, okay? So now let's test the game out and see what happens. So we're going to have to walk up to one of our eggs, and hopefully this does work first time. Let's walk up to the egg, and there we go. Congratulations, you found rainbow egg. And when we click OK, the GUI disappears. How awesome is that? So that was the first video in the Egg Hunt series. If you're enjoying it, please do subscribe to my channel, because I do loads more videos teaching you how to make Roblox games and earn Robux from them. Don't forget to like the video as well, so that I know you like it. And I'll probably do some more videos. I'm going to show you how you can save a player's eggs, so that when they leave the game and rejoin, they'll still be there. And also in the future, I will probably be making a GUI that shows you all of the eggs that you've got and the ones that you've still yet to find. So make sure you're subscribed for that, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers, bye.